Hi everyone, Joe Kehrig with the Kehrig Real Estate Team, and this is your Tassajara Valley Blackhawk neighborhood update for the week of September 21st. Well, just like in preceding weeks, this market continues to amaze me how strong and how much it's come back, from the COVID-19. In my 42 years of professionally selling real estate, over 30 of those being the number one agent in the Blackhawk Tassajara neighborhoods with close to 600 sales. I've never seen anything like what we're seeing now. And you'll see in the charts as we go through, the market continues to be strong. Let's dive right into it and look at some of the reasons why and what some of the experts are saying. So the first graph you'll see is basically 83% plus of the economists surveyed by the Wall Street Journal say the recovery will be in the form of a V shape. And you can see they talk about the Nike swoosh or the V. Well, those equal over 83%. And when you look at it, it really is what's happening. The economists, have nailed this down. First off, look at the builder confidence since all-time records. So now the builders, and what's so important about that is, remember, it takes a year to get a product out there, a year plus. So the builders people say, geez, the market's so strong, why don't the builders build more homes? Well, they have long memories and they remember what happened when they got overextended out there. And because it takes a year and a half from planning to get something into the ground where they can actually sell, they have to have a lot of confidence in the market long term to basically go out there and put their money out there and not get caught like they did, during the last real estate recession. And you can see, you remember we talk about the V or the Nike swoosh, how most of the experts feel that the recovery has been. Well, look at this. You'll see the builder confidence, and you can see, what does that look like? Well, that looks like a Nike swoosh to me. And continuing on, when you look at the pending home sales, well, if that doesn't look like a V-type recovery, then nothing does. I mean, you'll see all the way going back to 2014, the market obviously it's going up, going down. But look at, obviously it dropped way down at one point, and then look how far it's gone up. I'm telling you, that's a V recovery. Exactly what the economist feels that there's going to be. And now look at the housing market recovery index that they use. Another V swoosh. So the economists have nailed this thing down, and the stats stand behind it. What has happened to the market? One of the reasons for that is we've talked about everything is all about the supply and demand. So what we had February being the strongest month and strongest February in 13 years. And then COVID hit. And what it really did is just pause the market. Our June 1st was more like our March 1st, and spring is always the busiest time. And now we've had a 3-month run where part of the reason is supply and demand. As I talked about with the builders being reluctant to build, and it's so difficult to build, from scratch because of regulations and cost for builders, we have a huge shortage of homes, and that's not going to change. There's more people coming into the area. There's obviously a shortage of homes. So the supply is always going to be down. So what we're looking at is the demand. Well, the demand is so high because interest rates are so low. Plus, we have so many people coming from the peninsula, which you'll see later on, coming into our area. So the supply is low and the demand's really high. You can drop me any place in the United States and just show me the actives and the pendings of supply and demand, and I'll show you which way the market's going. And that's certainly what we've seen the last 3 months here. So you can see the total listings are way down, and the new listings are staying pretty steady up and down. But overall, the total listings are way down. Well, that's kind of what is happening with the market. So this is the reason why in the Tassajara Valley Blackhawk neighborhoods that there's so much demand out there. When you look at this, the real estate brokers see a shift towards suburbia, and that's what we're seeing here. People can literally be renting in San Francisco and come out and buy $1 million home for the same payments of what they were renting. And now that they don't have to commute, they don't have to worry about being close to their work. That's what people are doing. So you see that there's 20% significant shift towards suburbia and a 48% moderate shift. So there's no doubt that people are coming. Why are they coming? To basically, because of COVID, they want the space to be able to move out. With homeschooling now, they need the rooms. They need the extra den. They want the outside area where they can come to that they don't get in an urban lifestyle in a lot of cases. So that's what there's two things that are driving the demand is people want suburbia because they don't have to worry about the commute as much, and interest rates that are under 3%. So that's basically, pushing the demand. And with the supply being low, it's funny. Someone asked me, where do I think the market's going? Well, I can tell you, we're in an 11-year bull run, basically a 10-plus year bull run of when the prices started going up in 2010. And that's the longest I've seen in my 42 years. And so there's a sensible part of me that sits there and goes, it can't sustain itself. We're going to have to see a correction, not like 2007 or 8, because unlike 2007 or 8, where people had no equity in their homes, so when the market went down 10%, everyone went like rats off a sinking ship. As I've talked in weeks before, 54% of the homeowners out there have 50% or more equity in their home. So when the market does end up correcting, which is usually around 10%, no one's going to run away from their homes. So we might see a correction, but we're not going to see a 2006, 7, 8, like we did during the last housing recession. But at the same point, so I sit there and go, okay, well, there's got to be a correction at some place. It can't keep sustaining itself. But yet, when you look at the issues behind the supply and demand, there's really nothing in the future that I see that's going to change where we're at now. So I see it. Now, we might have a little bumps as we get closer to the election. Things do slow down a little bit because the one thing that can back the demand off a little bit is, two things. One is there's still a lot of people, even though there's a lot of people coming into Contra Costa, there's a lot of people leaving California, going to Idaho, going to Reno, going to Texas, going to Oregon. So there's a lot of people leaving the area and taking advantage of the high prices. So you have a situation where, the supply is still low, but the increased demand of people coming here. So what can slow down the market a little bit, it's not going to be a supply issue. It's not going to be an interest rate issue because no one's anticipating the interest rates going up because, let's face it, overall the country is still in a little bit of a hurt because of COVID. So they're not going to raise the interest rates. The thing that could slow it down a little bit is as we get closer to the election, there's going to be a lot of negative stuff. And, we're so divided, as we've talked about it with weeks before. You get 2 to 3 weeks before the election, and there's going to be 100% of the people that are going to be scared that the other, person they don't want is going to get elected. And so everyone's on edge a little bit. Obviously, after the election, there'll be 50% of the people that think the country is going to hell. But at the same point, as we go on, there'll be a little bit of uncertainty. So what we're telling our buyers is, it's tough. Don't get in a huge bidding war. We're seeing 10, 20 offers on some homes. But don't so much go crazy, but be ready if the right deal comes up. Because remember, even if you pay a little bit more for it at 2.8% interest rates, it's still more affordable. As we talked about a couple weeks ago, 49 out of the 50 states are more affordable today than they were in 1995. And people go, how can that be? Prices have gone up. Well, it's all the interest rates. So what's the 50th state? Well, the one state that things aren't as affordable as they were in 1995? Well, I can tell you because I've seen a lot of my clients move in there. It's Idaho. That's where everyone's going. So let's look at the stats. Let's look at the chart for this week. So when you see the Tassajara Valley, you can see that pending sales are up, actives are down. Whenever you see the inverted where there's more pendings and you have active properties, that's where the market is a strong seller's market. So you see basically in the last 3 weeks, not a lot has changed as far as the pendings. And the active properties, they went up a little bit, but they went down. So we're hoping maybe we saw a trend where we saw more homes come on the market. And certainly now the last week we say it actually is backed off, just making it more of a stronger seller market. Now, when we look at Blackhawk, now this happened about a month ago, and I pointed it out, but I can tell you it's only the second time, a month ago being the first time, where I saw as many pending sales in Blackhawk. Look at the pending sales. Look at the active 21 and 21. I've been professionally selling in Blackhawk for 32 years and sold close to 200 homes in Blackhawk. And I have never seen, except for this last month, where there's been as many active sales, as many pending sales as there's been active. And the reason why is because the average price in Blackhawk is over $2 million. So there's just not as many buyers here. So this is very, very unusual to see. If we dive into the numbers a little bit, look at Tassajara. The active properties have been on the market average of 27 days, over a little bit over $2 million. The pending properties are almost $1.7 million, because obviously what do people do? They're cherry picking the lowest fruit on the tree. So you'll see that. And look at the sold properties. 5 days on the market, 106% of asking price on average. So these are the properties that they're getting 5, 10, 15, 20 offers on. And the hot market right now is in that $1.2 million to $2 million range. We've had a couple listings. We had a listing that was on the market a year ago with another real estate company for $1.450 million. And we put it on a year later for $1.575 million, and we're closing it this week for $1.630 million. Now, I'd like to take all the credit for that because we do a great job of marketing, but I'll take part of the credit. A lot of it credit is because of the, just the market conditions. We had another home in Cimarron Hills that, I started talking to the people because they had a lot of work. They were doing some remodeling, and they wanted $1.8 million. And in my mind, I'm thinking, geez, you're kind of nuts. We should be about $1.7 million. Then when we went to put it on the market a couple of weeks ago, they go, what do you think, Joe? And I go, let's go $1.750 million. And they said, well, I thought you said $1.7 million. I said, yeah, but the market's a lot stronger. It's kind of crazy out there. Well, crazy went from $1.7 million and ended up getting them $1.895 million. Almost $1.9 million. Now, 3 months ago, I thought they were nuts that we were hoping to get $1.8 million, but that's kind of what we're seeing overall. The ones with the expansive, the nice yards, a lot of square footage, the bedrooms in the suburbia are getting the maximum price, and you see it here. 5 days on the market. With the sales last week, the sold property selling for 106% of asking. And look at Blackhawk. When we talk about 21 pendings and 21 active properties, but look at the average price of the active properties, over $3 million, and have been on the market for 2 months. So all the low inventory is being checked off. We just listed a home in Blackhawk for under $1.4 million, got multiple offers and sold it close to $1.5 million. Another property we represented the buyers on that was listed for $2.8 million, and we're in escrow that for close to $3 million at $3 million. So the market is very, very active in Blackhawk, and you can see that obviously same thing that's happening in Blackhawk is people are picking the low fruit on the tree. The average price is over $3 million, yet the average sold price is $1.535 million. The average pending price is $2 million. So again, the market is honestly, in 42 years of professionally selling real estate and selling almost 600 homes in the Tassajara Valley and Blackhawk over the last 30 years, I've never seen anything like it. Can it sustain itself? There's no reason why it shouldn't. But at some point, my common sense, and my experience tells me, obviously, it's got to stop at some point. But I'm still looking for some indications that it will. Now, as we go through, I've been talking to you guys every other week on this and looking for trends. And the only trend right now is it still is a seller's market. So hopefully that helped. And if you have any questions, because remember, we're talking in every neighborhood in Tassajara. I've sold, probably a dozen to 2 dozen to 3 dozen homes. So every neighborhood's a little bit different. Every house is a little bit different in that neighborhood. And if you just want to, again, when I meet with clients, I'm their advisor, and I'm there just to help counsel them and walk them through. Because sometimes it's not the best move for them to move. If they want to, like I met with someone the other day, and if their motivation is to sell high and then come back in the neighborhood and buy low, it's not worth it. The cost of buying and selling, the delta isn't there. But if you obviously want to downsize from 1,800,000 to 1,200,000, or go up from 1,200,000 to 1,800,000, or go from 2-story to single story, then obviously it might make sense. But we can sit down, and our job is always just to give you the pieces of the puzzle that we can. And then you put it together with all your personal pieces of the puzzle and decide the best decision for you. So if you need to reach out, my cell number, as you see on the screen, 925-487-6838, joe@kehrigteam.com, or visit our website at www.kehrigteam.com. And, I want to thank, this week is the first week for a long time that we've actually had blue skies. And I know there's still a lot of fires going on, but thank God for the first responders that are out there. I can remember, do you guys remember like a week ago, you walked outside, a few weeks ago, you walked outside and it felt like the fire was next door, and yet it's thousands of miles away, and yet you wonder about those people that are right there. So obviously, as we deal with COVID, I want to thank obviously the first responders, our police, our fire, our teachers, our people that are out there, in the front of it, and especially right now, the firefighters and the people that are, trying to keep California safe. So may God bless them, may God bless you, your family, and may God bless the United States of America. Have a great week. Reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll see you in a couple weeks.